you said a
because
couple Jews, man. The legendary Mike Tyson. That you grew up with Mike. That's your friend. That's amazing, right there.
well, yes, but not being Brooklyn, I see him and I see Riddick Bowe and them, and you know, and I knew who my mother knew. In fact, when I was in Brooklyn living with the Coopers, you know, I would see all these you know, these people, and you know, and when I get into some shit, right, Mike's always like, what happened? And I'm like, nothing, I'm good. Like, you know, um, Mike will, because me and Mike was at Devontae's studio. He was ready to beat up my friend's flow riding him, and I was like, yo.
What?
And I said, yo, these are my friends, man. And he went, what? I said, yo, man, these are my friends. He was like, fuck. He said, all right, man, tell you what, man, just do me a favor then. I'm gonna leave them alone. Yo, help this man cannabis out. So I went and got cannabis.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
because I'm just saying, because, you know, it's like when we was kids and I would see them fighting, and you gotta remember, Mike Tyson's godfather and my godfather grew up in the Bronx together. They're Italian. Um, Tony was my godfather was a big fan of Sugar Ray Robinson and boxed in the same gym as Sugar Ray Robinson. Sugar Ray Robinson and them was coming from Detroit, but they migrated to Harlem. So him and Joe Louis was Harlem. They were the celebrated stars of Harlem. My godfather's father was the matchmaker at St. Nick's Arena. Um, so I would know, my favorite fighter was Ali. 'Cause I was very much like him with the mouth and the poetry and the fast hands that I moved similar. Um, and Guy Gunter, my godfather's brother, Guy, who was also a trainer too. His favorite fighter was Joe Louis. You said something about Joe Louis. This Italian dude will try to fight you.
No doubt.
I'm serious. Like he was like, I grew up in an environment where it was all fighting, always fighting. And if you lose, my mother would be like, "Don't bring him home. I don't want to see him." Like it was like that,
Yeah.
because she's from
Yeah.
Brooklyn. She didn't
Yeah.
want to hear it. You had to demo something every night, and then you can coexist with her. But you know, my dad was more lenient on that shit because my dad would go to the fights with us. The camera, my dad was a very big fight fan too. And my dad grew up in West Virginia. All his cousins boxed with the Mayweathers because my grandmother, his mother, is Rosa, not Rosa Parks. Um, uh, Martin Luther King's wife is my grandmother's first cousin too. She's a Scot. They all grew up in Alabama. So all her ancestors fought with the Mayweathers. They all grew up in Michigan and they fought with them. So boxing was in our blood the whole time. I didn't know. Um, so Tony would tell me the stories about Sugar Ray Robinson, and we would watch the fight films, but that was our life, man. And then at a certain age, when I didn't stay at Uncle Frank's house, and I was, I had a spot at the gym. I would always be at the gym. In fact, that's where Redman wrote "Time for Some Action," because Redman was my DJ then. So boxing was always, a big part of our life and how we moved, and kept us out of trouble and kept us. We running 5 miles a day or 10 miles a day, and we'd be sleep. And I grew up in the Connecticut area where the Seneca Indians are from. Central Islip was where Seneca Indians are from. That Bayshore and Brentwood. Now this is funny. One tribe of Indians were in this area, but when the Europeans take it over and split it up and say Brentwood, CI, the blacks have an issue. That's what you got to understand about how we believe in their ideologies. Not saying all of them are off for bullshit, because it's not. I got an uncle who's Scottish who tell me that there's more white niggers than black niggers ever. He's using the word correctly, I want to point out to you too. You know how back in the days you hear nigger and a white man say, hey, he's not saying black people are niggers because of their black. He's saying you could be a nigger by the way you think and act, which is correct. You know what I'm trying to say? But he said to this day, there's way more white niggas than black niggas. And I'm like, makes sense. So, we got to re-educate, the people on the words and how it moves. Because like I said, you could be white, blue eyes, and still be a nigger in my book. Now, when I was a little kid and they said it was nigga, and I had on my bit, I didn't know. I thought everybody black was a nigga. I mean, because you say black, that was the thing. What? He's called me a nigga. So now I know that anybody could be a nigga. Because if you look in a dictionary, like I was telling people, you look in a dictionary and you look up potato nigga, it says Irishman. You look in the same dictionary and say Indian, it says red nigger. And if you look in the same dictionary, it says it says it says um yellow rice nigger is an Indian, is a Chinaman. And then if you say Middle Eastern is a sand nigger. So there it was like a epiphany to me. I was like, oh shit. We're not just it's not just single to us, it could be anybody.
Mhm.
So, but I have to get that information out to my kid. I have to let my because they don't know and they're walking on eggshells on the word. I'm like, no, no, no. This is what it is. This is what it is. I got spun too. But I noticed when I started figuring out, and my nana told me this first, when I went to jail, and my nana, God bless my grandmother Ruth, she's like, you don't even live in the ghetto. You can't be a nigger. And I said, and she's a Garvier. And I said, Nana, they call black people nigger. Like you don't know what the hell's going on. I'm going to jail for it. She looked at me, she said, look in this dictionary. And I started looking at the shit, and I couldn't believe what she showed me. I was like, oh shit. And now I changed my whole way of thinking. And I learned that once I found out how things were, my mind started, it was like its senses started, that things were turning off. And the things that needed to be turned on were turned on. It's like just in my own self. I felt that I was like, ooh, I feel different about this now because I didn't know the truth about them. And once I learned the truth about them, I looked at them different and felt different about them. And I kind of figured out the black diaspora, like I would tell my god brother Scotty Esdale, who's the president of the NAACP, he would say, me, him, and Michael Bivens would have conversations. And he would say, you're making a lot of sense. And I said, yeah, but if we can get the word out in a way, it can make sense because now you're helping people. You can't help people. How does it make sense? And that's the whole thing. It's like people gotta make sense out of shit. If you don't make sense out of it, how do you can't. It's just all fucked up.